Okay, so I really had a hard time deciding where to start when doing a review of Twilight Imperium. I mean, the game's so epic, where do you start to explain it to people? And after a little bit of deliberation, I said, you know what, I'm just going to start with the basic tiles, like how you map out the galaxy and set up the board. That seems to be the most basic way and the easiest way to start. Anything that doesn't get explained in this video will be explained in later videos. I think I even say that in some of the videos. And as you're watching these videos, you may find out that Christian T. Peterson even says, he admits that he got a lot of his inspiration from Star Trek, Star Wars, Dune, and other sci-fi greats, and you can definitely tell. I mean, there's a story in there. Like I said, it's not just a board game, it's an actual story. And you can see those influences come to life as you start seeing the mechanics and game flow of the game. So without further ado, here's the tiles. Alright, so I wanted to start off by showing you the galaxy for Twilight Imperium. First off, what you're going to do is you're going to randomly select some home planets, and I'll show the home planets later. But you're going to randomly select some home planets and then start building the galaxy. The first thing you're going to place is Mechatol Rex. Basically Coruscant, if you're familiar with Star Wars. Used to be the old city, basically the base of the Imperium here. It was the center of the galaxy, so it gets in the center tile. Now after that, you're going to take a stack of tiles, and by the way, this is with all 3 expansions. You won't have this many tiles. But you'll take a stack of these tiles, you'll shuffle them up, you'll give them out randomly to the players, and then they will start to build the galaxy. Now how they do that is you go around the table, and everyone's going to, like I said, randomly take one of these tiles and place it around the galaxy, like so. Now, you don't have to go all the way around like I am. Someone could place it here, you know, or there, and there. And so slowly you're going to be building the galaxy with these tiles. Now, as each one goes around there, you're going to build a second circle and a third circle. And then finally, you're going to put your home planets on the outside of this galaxy. Now, here I have a completed version of what a galaxy would look like, somewhat completed. They give you several examples of how you can set this up on the board. They have specialty ones, like if you get some of the expansions, you have this little wormhole nexus that can go off to the side. They give you other areas where you can build your own little mini galaxy over here that you have to get through a wormhole. And I'll explain what all that is in a minute. But as you can see, the galaxy can get pretty big. You would put your home planets, of course, on the edges of this, and then that's how you would start to play the game. But just looking at the galaxy, I want to give you a few notes. First off, as you can see, there are some red tiles here, red rim tiles, and they have special requirements. Just to tell you a few of them, I'll just pull this one up here. We have an ion storm. Now with an ion storm, what you can do with this one, PDSs, planetary defense systems, which I'll talk about in another video, cannot fire into an ion storm. Another thing is that fighters can't fight inside. If you go inside an ion storm, your fighters, which I'll talk about what those are later, they can't fight an ion storm, yet they can take casualties. The other special one here, let's see, here you go, it's an asteroid field. You can't go into an asteroid field unless you have special technology, which I'll talk about in another video. And you can only move through an asteroid field. You cannot stop and stay in that asteroid field when you're there. So they're only stuff to pass through. Other things are like nebulas. Here's a nebula. Now, nebula is kind of wild because when you are in a nebula, the fleet that's in here that's defending the nebula gets a 1+ in combat, which we'll talk about how that comes into play when we talk about combat. But you cannot move through a nebula. Like if you have a fast ship that can move across 2 tiles, you can't. Once you enter into a nebula, your turn ends, and then on your next turn, you can move out of that nebula. No matter how fast your spaceship may be, though, it can only move out 1 space. So if you have a spaceship that can go 2 spaces, not in a nebula, it only moves out 1 space outside that nebula. The next one we have here is a supernova. As you see, supernovas there, you cannot move into, you cannot move through to, you must go around a supernova. And finally, I have gravity rifts here. Gravity rifts you can pass through, but once you pass into a gravity rift, you have to roll the die on a 1 through 5, on a 10-sided die. On a 1 through 5, your ship gets swallowed by the gravity rift. So these are very dangerous to shoot across, unless you have some special tech that helps you out there. But those are gravity rifts. Other things you may see, maybe a little bit small here, but on the board, you see we have these wormholes. See where we have this planet, and then we have this wormhole? During the game, if you go into a wormhole, if you access a wormhole, you can go in outside of the next wormhole. As you see on my little galaxy map, the wormhole B goes from out here, or vice versa. So it's actually a quick way to get across the galaxy. As you see, we have, here we go, wormhole A. And in wormhole A, if you go through there, let's see, on my board, you go through there and end up here. So it's a quick way to get across the galaxy, especially when most of your ships are just moving one space per turn. So wormholes can really help you out. Now, if you're going through wormhole A, you can only exit through a wormhole A, and so on and so forth, B to B. You cannot go B to A and A to B. You can't do that. Now, the other thing about these planets, as you can see, some planet tiles have 2 planets on it. Does that mean when you enter into that tile that you will get both planets? No, you have to do invasions for both, and we'll talk about how that works when we talk about planet invasions. But as you see, for each one of these, they have little icons. They have green and a little bit burgundy red there. What the green stands for, it stands for resources, how many resources a planet has. And the kind of dark red there looks at how much influence that planet has. As you can see, each one is different. I mean, I could bring up some more examples here. Here's one that's perfectly balanced there, 2 and 2. Now, what does this mean? Well, during the game, there's going to be orders where they're going to say, okay, you must use X amount of resources to build, your ships and whatnot. Well, that's when you use the resources on your planet. Or it may say, hey, you need to expend so much influence to get this done. Well, then you use your influence. Now, to keep up with how many planets you've conquered, because, I mean, yeah, you will put your little flag on there, or, your ground troops to indicate that you own it, they actually give you cards. Okay, and I put mine in alphabetical order, but these are some of the cards you can get, and you'll get the card for that planet. Now, as you're using these cards, once you use either your resources or your influence, you're going to exhaust that planet for the turn, and you're going to flip it over. Now, don't worry, after the round is over, you can refresh those planets and use it again, but you can only use either resources or influence. You can't use them both unless you have a special card or ability that lets you use them both. But after you use one or the other, you exhaust that planet for the round. Another thing about these planets here is sometimes, and you saw them on one of the tiles there, but sometimes they'll come with little blue or red or green or yellow little emblems. What does that mean? Well, this deals with technology, something we'll talk about later on. But with technology cards, if you're trying to buy a certain technology, in this case it's a blue tech, it's going to cost you 1 less than it would for everyone else because you own this planet and they are experts in that tech. Now, of course, as I said before, here's one that's red. They have some that's green, some that's blue, and some that's yellow, all around the deck. In fact, let me see. I have some yellow ones. Here they are. You can also see here, where it has the yellow emblem. Ah, okay, those would help out in purchasing yellow tech. So some planets come with that as well. So there is your galaxy for Twilight Imperium. All right, so a few important things when you're placing out the tiles. This is also a game within itself, maybe the pre-game to the main game. You always are saying, what can I do? Do I want to put this here and this? Do I want to put planets next to me? That'd be nice. But do I want to put spaces next to me so it'll take the bad guys longer to get to me? Do I want to put an asteroid field next to me, kind of block some people? Or do I want to put it on someone else? Because I know their home system's going to be somewhere around there. May as well play it on them. There is a lot of strategy in just placing the tiles. You'd be surprised at how much strategy there is. You may say, you know what, I'll just throw a bunch of planets over here, let them deal with the planets because I want a straight shot to Mechatol Rex. Someone actually did that while we were playing the game. They just kept giving everyone the planets. They was like, oh, okay. And they would stop and, invade the planets, and he just trucked on down and claimed Mechatol Rex for his own before anyone knew what happened. So there's plenty of strategies on just placing the tiles. Now, if you just see this, I showed you one aspect of the game, and hopefully already you're like, whoa, I'm interested. Well, good, because there's another video coming up next.